These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
There we go, folks. I jumped again just a little bit on the music, but I think it is safe enough for us to get going. We are off.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for WordPress plugins A to Z, not Z.
It's interview 78, and we have Rodolfo Melogli from Business Bloomer talking about WooCommerce, plugin creation, marketing strategies, and the evolution of WordPress products and more. All coming up next on WordPress plugins from A to Z. WordPress, the king of content management systems, powering the web with over 80,000 plugins to choose from. How do you sort the junk from the gems? Welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we've been keeping the pulse of WordPress alive for over 16 incredible years. Join us every week for an unrehearsed, real talk breakdowns of the latest and greatest plugins, developer and community member interviews. Some weeks, Amber and I team up to dig in. Others, I'm flying solo, unpacking WordPress news, demoing a standout plugin, or sharing tips to power up your site. No scripts, no fluff, just the good stuff from A to Z. So plug in and let's get rolling. Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be hiding out there on the globe today. Comes to you direct from the brewery overlooking beautiful southern Vancouver Island. I'm John Overall, and welcome to WP Plugins A to Z, where we dive deep into the world of WordPress with innovators who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. In this engaging episode of WP Plugins A to Z interview series number 78, we're excited to welcome Rodolfo Melogli, the innovative founder of Business Bloomer, a WordPress powerhouse since 2011, who's revolutionized e-commerce with his many plugins, the insightful Woo Weekly newsletter reaching nearly 20,000 subscribers, and the groundbreaking Checkout Summit conference. set to unite Woo makers in Palmero this April. As a seasoned WordCamp speaker, author, and consultant who's transitioned from civil engineering roads in Ireland to building digital pathways for online stores, Rodolfo shares his wealth of knowledge on overcoming WooCommerce challenges, fostering community connections, and delivering practical tools that empower WordPress developers and entrepreneurs alike. Join us for an hour of actionable insights, behind the scenes stories, and tips to elevate your Woo game. Let's get started. Welcome to the show, Rodolfo.
Thank you, John. This is a pleasure. Amazing presentation here. So I'm delighted. Let's see how it goes.
Well, this should be interesting. It's a little different one than I've done before. So we're going to be taking us down some paths that you'd suggested here. But let's get started with a little bit of background so that people know where we're at. I mean, you're very well known out in the WordPress community. I know bits and pieces about you, but some of our audience may not really know who you are or what you do. So let's start. You've built yourself an impressive career since 2011, from freelancing to founding business Bloomer to Woo Weekly. What inspired you to start creating and selling your signature mini plugins, those lightweight single feature solutions? I've seen them touted from time to time. I have yet to use them, but then again, when I see something, I tend to go write it myself nowadays. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so thank you, first of all. And second, excuse me, I've been working with the WooCommerce plugin forever. And one of my first clients back in 2011, was a WooCommerce client. And I said, oh, I love this. I'm going to use it. And you know what? After a few months, I'm going to share some tutorials, some snippets for myself so I can remember them the next time I move to the next client. I can reuse them and so on. But then, I was one of the first bloggers about WooCommerce, and my traffic exploded. And I said, oh gosh, this is working. Maybe I should keep doing what I'm doing. And yes, I was lucky the first time, but then I kept publishing and posting tutorials and snippets and solutions forever. So I think I have about more than 1,000 posts on Business Bloomer. And over the years, I said, oh, it would be nice if I stopped doing client work and instead I start building some products, something that could be mine, that I could sell at scale. But also at the same time, I had about, no skills. I'm not I'm a civil engineer, nothing to do with IT or developing and, coding whatsoever, at least, that's not my background.
Mm-hmm.
And second, I used to hate subscriptions and licenses and renewals and all that kind of stuff. So the only thing I could came up with in the last few years, because it's almost a recent thing, is this idea of a WooCommerce mini plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, a mini plugin contains all the things that I love about plugins and doesn't contain all the things that I hate about plugins. So I said,
Okay.
to me, a plugin must do one specific thing, has to have super simple documentation, and has to have, one plugin file if possible, few lines of code, and basically it's a snippet that becomes a mini plugin. And in this way, the client, the customer knows exactly what they're getting. Doesn't need to worry about, oh, where's the license code, the whatever, where do I find the keys? And they can just use it on as many websites as they like. It's lifetime, and there's no subscription, no renewals, no churn, and they get what they get, and if it works, I'm happy with it. So this was my basically idea of coming up with something that I could manage myself, that I
Right.
could maintain, that I could sell easily and that I didn't need to worry about fail payments and retries and all the annoying things about subscriptions.
Right.
Now, we've heard of Tailwind CSS going almost burst because of their lifetime only pricing model.
Right.
But in my case, because they're very little small functionalities, they don't require constant maintenance unless WooCommerce changes their code base. In that case, I need to refactor them. But once I build a mini plugin, basically, and I think about it a lot before I do it, if it's something that can last 10 years, then that's to me is something that it's easy to manage, it's easy to sell, and doesn't require a subscription.
Well, that's an excellent. And the one thing you just mentioned there, which I never really gave much thought to, because the lifetime license deals, I think I still own one or two from the early days of internet, but many of them, such as I just got notified by one that I've had for quite a few years that they're changing their model. Their grandfather, this in sort of for the lifetime license, but the obvious one is the fact that they have to keep updating or changing or improving, especially when it's a larger plugin. But as you said, these are small, little snippets
True.
that, and unless the major code base from WooCommerce changes, and fortunately they don't seem to do that too often, then you release it, it just keeps working. And unless
Yeah.
you made a security flaw in your initial development, everything else is going to be good.
True, exactly. I mean, they recently discontinued or deprecated a specific function that unfortunately was in like 25 plugins of mine. But thankfully, they also provided a fix or a replacement for that. Instead of this one line, you got to use 4. And, you can easily do a search and replace in bulk and, release the new plugin versions quite fast. So it's not usually nothing major happens. And also whenever I choose a plugin, I make sure that it's tackling a specific weakness within WooCommerce that also is not going to change over time. So I try to be super specific and super smart about what I choose. So most of my plugins, I mean the most popular ones are, for example, about conditional work on the payment gateways. So
Right.
I don't know, disable PayPal if the order total is whatever, or enable Stripe if shipping is to US, or lots of things that are really independent on whatever happens behind the scenes at WooCommerce. So they will always work. They only rely on one single filter within the WooCommerce plugin, and therefore, as long as that filter is there and it works for checkout blocks, for standard legacy checkout, so it's kind of a working for every kind of setup, then I'm happy about it.
Yes, and from what I've been able to see, I did a stroll through your plugin list. There's some very interesting ones there. Abandoned recovery cart, WooCommerce add to cart quantity drop down, little bits and things like that. And those are rather useful features, but simple one-off features. Not everybody wants or needs something like that for their WooCommerce site. So your plugins do stand out for their being their focus, their lifetime license and bloat free. Now, with this idea, you had suggested as a topic for this, and I thought it was good because I was going to go a different route, and I went, you know what, that would be interesting to talk to, is talking about the topic of how to get an idea for WooCommerce plugin and then taking it from idea to launch, the process. So what we start out is walk us through your typical workflow When you're turning this idea into a launched mini plugin, where do your ideas come from? Do they come from client work, community feedback, personal pain points? Where else do you get these little ideas for it?
Well, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I've been blogging since 2014, exactly about WooCommerce, and specifically loads of code snippets, loads of customization tutorials and how to do X with 10 lines of code and so on. And over the years, I received many, many, many blog post comments. I think we're at about 20,000 as of today, or something like that. So at some stage, whenever I was deciding, oh, which should be my first plugin, I said, hold on, I already have loads of data. I can leverage that. So I went through my WordPress backend to the post list, sorted them by number of comments, and picked the first one. And I said, hold on, I have the answer. This is one of the most requested or the most commented tutorial about customizing WooCommerce. So that would be my first plugin. I already had the code to start with in my code snippet post, and then I said, hold on, let's build from it and let's package it into a plugin and see how it goes. And basically from that moment on, basically I had a ranking system for all my blog posts, and based on that ranking, I have a 400 list of plugins that I want to develop. I'm only at 44 as of today, plus 3 hidden add-ons as well. But my goal would be to get to 400. And now that it's kind of getting easier as well to vibe code these little apps, if we want to call them apps as opposed to plugins,
Yeah.
I say, why not? So I have the data. I know exactly what people need in their WooCommerce website. Of course, client requests as well matter, but what matters to me, at least up until AI came, it was blog content and comments. Now it's gonna be down because people are there chatting to AIs as opposed to going to my site. But I still have loads of data. I still have loads of ideas, and it's easy just transforming a little 10 lines of code snippet into a 100 lines plugin, package it, put it in a zip file, and sell it through my website. So that's the basic idea and thinking behind how I pick the next big mini plugin.
Okay.
Basically using what I already have.
Well, once you've decided to pick that next big plugin, how did you, before you picked that next big plugin, what did you use to validate the demand for that plugin to be? It's like one thing to say, oh, I want to make a plugin. Like I've created a few plugins, I put them out there, nobody wants them, but me. But so what you need to do is validate, is this plugin actually going to help enough other people where I could make an income off of it? What do you use? Surveys, polls, discussions? How do you validate demand for what you're planning to build next?
Yeah. See, because I'm building mini plugins, I don't do any validation or any surveys beforehand, because it takes me 2 hours to develop a new plugin, package it, put it on a graphic, and put it on a sales page and sell it. And the sales will define whether it was the right choice or not. And if it doesn't sell, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it was just 2 hours of work. So I use the opposite approach. Yes, I have the data, I have the blog post comments, and I have the analytics stuff to show me that there is demand for that specific functionality,
Mhm.
but I still don't know whether a plugin is going to sell or not. So I just publish it and see how it goes. And some of them, they become popular just because people really need them. Like I have the sales by state report plugin that does very well in the United States, because apparently you folks have like different ways of, you need to report sales figures by state
Mhm.
every quarter to the IRS, and loads of people can find this inside WooCommerce, and then they go and buy my plugin. So I definitely didn't think this was going to become popular, but it's because it's a specific need by a specific audience in a specific country.
Right.
And then, the toggle payments on the checkout based on certain criteria, that's something that's really requested by people. And in fact, it's my best seller. So I don't really think about business first.
Mhm.
I just make sure that the functionality is something that it's needed, that the plugin can be coded in less than 2 hours, and that the code is clean and hopefully is not going to change in the next few years if possible. So I always try to be smart about these three things, and
Mhm.
if this new plugin ticks all these three boxes, then I go for it, and if it doesn't sell, I don't mind.
Okay. Now, you've mentioned it a few times here that your plugin files, you went from 20 lines of code to 100 lines of code. It sounds like you're managing to keep a single file for the plugin. And now that it's not having all the added subfiles that are in most plugins, the assets and the CSS and et cetera, and the admin panel and et cetera. How does this help keep the plugin lightweight and usable? And
Mhm. Yeah. So I come from a point of view where one file is easier for me in the first place. So I know where the code is. I don't need to go, looking through functions and classes and subclasses and, JS files, CSS files, PHP file. Just one single file, if possible.
mhm,
So I don't get confused. Remember, I'm not a developer uh, by nature. So I try to keep things easy for me. Also, for customers is also easy, because one file means what, 4 kilobytes, 5 kilobytes, and it's definitely not 3 megs or 4 megs like WooCommerce subscriptions could be, for example. So that's a heavy plugin. So by controlling the basically number of lines of PHP, I can keep it lightweight by hooking and by reusing native WooCommerce functions. I can use it. I can make sure that it is working out of the box with WooCommerce, because I rely on WooCommerce. And this one file thing again is to appeal to myself
mhm,
mostly, because I don't want to waste hours maintaining or refactoring or editing. I just want to go straight into that file, that specific line, change the comma into a semicolon, and I'm done. So I don't want to waste time. It's the nature of the mini plugin that brought me to this one file thing, because it has to be easy to manage, easy to edit. I don't want to touch it, ever again. One
mhm.
file, forget about it. Move to the next.
I can appreciate that idea. Now, okay, now you're talking almost all your plugins are one feature. How do you prevent yourself from, say, scope creep, or you're building on a feature and all of a sudden another little feature should go with what you're building? I know it happens to me. It's like, well, this should go with it. How do you keep it not do that and expand out one plugin to multiple uses? It's like you look at all the plugins you have, they could easily be dumped into one massive toggle
Sure.
plugin for people to use. So
True.
that's why it's just a curiosity on that one.
Yeah, say for example, the toggle payments plugins.
Mhm.
So, you can hide or show a specific uh, payment gateway on the WooCommerce checkout based on the product in the cart or the category in the cart or the order total or the shipping method. Like a, a plugin would include, as you said, all these into a single feature. But from my research and from what I see from analytics, from what I see from my comments and so on, people, if they're looking to disable or enable a payment based on something, they don't also need to enable or disable it for something else. So my thinking is, right, do you need to do some work, some conditional work? This is the perfect thing that you need. You don't need all the other 27 features. If there is a plugin that comes with a feature and something else come highly requested by customers, like, why don't you add A, B, C, and D to this? It would be amazing, it would be perfect. Sometimes I include it for free in the current version. For example, the sales by state report was missing a CSV download. Well, that's a no-brainer. You just add a button and a few lines of PHP and it's done. But in some cases, I've developed some hidden add-ons. So if they do something, much more important, if it's something that it really helps the experience, then I would develop a second add-on, so a second plugin, and people would need to run both in order to make them work.
Mhm.
So it's sort of an extension of my extension, and I have 2 or 3 of them, of course. But yeah, usually I just go with a brand new plugin, keep it easy. This is what it does. This is what you get, and you can't get anything else unless you buy a second plugin. So it's a different way of thinking. It's a little bit mad, but again, this is kind of showing who I am, how I work,
Mhm.
what's easy for me, and hopefully what's better for my customers.
Yeah, well, it also seems to allow you to stay focused and make it easy so when you do have to make updates or changes, you don't have to try to go through a massive plugin with hundreds of lines of code over multiple files and into subfolders and directories. So it could save a lot of time. All right, so let's couple of quick things here. With all the plugins, as you develop these, how do you work out, say, beta testing them or finding testers for them? Do you do that yourself or do you find guinea pigs to test them for you? What do you do to solve that problem?
Hmm. Yeah, good question. So I have a development website live, just behind the maintenance plugin,
Hmm.
and I install there all my plugins, and I use this website as as a test. I have query monitor and see if the plugins are breaking between each other or creating conflicts or not. But because they're lightweight and because they're small, I can even have a website running 400 of them and nothing will happen. So it's also a way for me to prove that 10 mini plugins are better than one big plugin, because it's easy to manage. It's easier to manage, and way less lines of code, and no API requests and no stuff like that. Just the feature you need, one simple dashboard, and you get the job done.
Yeah, you just touched on something that is, of course, a big debate in the WordPress world of too many plugins. You have too many plugins installed. Well, you just talked about having all of your plugins. You have 40, I believe, on your website available right now.
Yeah.
You have all 40 installed on your dev site, which added to whatever else you have would put you in the neighborhood of 70, 80 plugins active on this dev site. That would be my rough
Yeah.
guess. Do you notice slowdown issues or any problems when you have them all loaded up, or did they all just keep playing well together like they're supposed to?
Yeah. See, basically, like these plugins, again, they're just few lines of code, and all make use of the WooCommerce actions and filters. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm not, loading, JS libraries or whatever, external dashboards or custom UIs. I just reuse what I already have. So the settings are inside the WooCommerce settings. The functions are reusing what WooCommerce uses. So as I said, I have 44 plus 3 add-ons on my dev website, so installed at the same time, but I could have 400 and you wouldn't get any problem whatsoever if they're coded properly, which I try to. So at the moment, the development website is not slow at all. And having all these plugins, which by the way only load on the pages where it's needed, and they don't load on the whole website pages and posts and whenever where WooCommerce is not running. And they're doing fine, they're working fine, and Query Monitor seems to be happy as well, so doing well. We'll see when I get to 400, and
Well,
you will ask me the same question, and maybe we will
that's
take a look at the differences in performance.
that's your goal. We'll monitor, and when you get to 200, we'll ask some questions then. You still got a ways to go though. Shouldn't take
Yeah.
long. Just throw it all in the grok and say, write me these plugins. He'll spit them out in no time.
We'll see about that.
All right. Well, let's move on to talk about some of your top ones that have been mentioned in different areas. How about some examples, success stories? Let's say for your toggle payments by category or your sales by state plugin that you've mentioned a few times in the States. How was the journey for, well, let's go back to the sales by state one, because as you said, you didn't expect that one to be a big seller one, but it surprised you. What was the journey? What caused you to create it to begin with? Because you're obviously not from the States, so you must have had somebody suggest something and you went, here, try this, and then it just spread. So what was the initial idea, your validation for it? How did you beta test it? The feedback, iterations? What did you do to bring it to full success?
Yeah, I was just going through a couple of reviews, and they were saying, I can't believe WooCommerce doesn't have these out of the box. And the other one is, this is exactly what I was looking for. And these are just two, and then I know of many more that are super happy with it. Like, it's just one single dashboard page where you select the year, you select the kind of breakdown, you want it by quarter, you want it by year, and you get the breakdown of all the sales for each state, for US or for whatever country you want. And it's like, I think this was actually came from a client. I developed for a client. Then, as usual, every time I develop something custom, I repurpose that on a blog post. And then the blog post with a simplified version started to attract loads of traffic, especially whenever the IRS needs to be filed. I don't know what the word is, when the taxes need to be filed in the US. And then people started to reach out, to comment, to DM, to send me emails and say, like, can you do this custom for us? Or like, can you change the fact that for the US, the quarters are not really like January to March, and then April to June, and then July to September, and then October to December, but they're kind of, using weird months. And I say, all right, yeah, I'll do it. And then I say, hold on, like this could be a plugin. It's quite simple. I just need to make sure I account for all years, I account for all countries, I account for all views, whether it's by quarter, by IRS period, by year, and that's it. And that's plugin. So I started selling it, and people started buying it. And one other thing that we didn't mention is the pricing and the way I choose the initial price and the way I eventually increase it or decrease it. Because once again, I do no research before publishing a plugin, and same applies to the price. So usually the price follows, it's proportional to the number of PHP lines that are in the plugin. So if the plugin is like 30 lines of code, it's going to be $19. If the plugin has got 100 lines, it's going to be, I don't know, 29. If the plugin has got 1,000, which never happens, by the way, it's going to be $99. So I pick a price, and then I see whether it sells or it doesn't sell. I discount it sometimes. I increase it some other times. So at the moment, it's $49, and it seems like it's a nice price spot because it's still selling. So it's fun to run this process basically in public and live and say, oh, but this used to cost $29 last month. And say, yeah, I increased it. What can I do about it? But yeah, so the process about this plugin was basically demand, was basically validation by actual people asking me to do the same for them, but custom. And when the second, third, fourth person gets in touch with you and say, can you do this for me, but I need this change, and then can you do this for me, but I need this other change, that's it. That's your plugin with a few settings, and it's done. So in that way you can appeal to all these different clients, plus all the ones that didn't get in touch with you. So that's my thinking behind developing a plugin. And in this case, it didn't start from my blog post, but it started from a client and then reached way more clients, customers.
Excellent. Well, that's the way it should work then, if it all else goes well. Now, aside from this U.S. Sale by state one, have you had any other of the many plugins surprise you, and what you put out and what it turned into?
Yeah, funnily enough, if you sort by price, low to high, you will see that I have a few free plugins.
Yeah.
And the WooCommerce autocomplete orders, which is the one there in the middle.
Yep.
Well, now is the third one. Is basically my my best seller. I wish I give it a price, but it also works as a lead magnet. And if they get the autocomplete orders for free, maybe they're also interested in some other plugin. But I mean, this is something that WooCommerce doesn't have, and no one knows why. And loads of stores, they don't need the processing order status. They just want the order to go straight to completed status, because they don't ship, or because they ship later with a company, and they don't really care about this extra step.
Right.
And basically this is a little bit more advanced, because you can set certain orders to automatically complete based on product type or IDs or categories or tags.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the number of people that basically downloaded these and keep downloading this plugin. And I'm happy it's actually free. And again, it works very well in regard to marketing or brand awareness. Even though one other rule for my mini plugins is not to advertise other plugins within the WordPress dashboard. I don't think it's fair. I don't like it. I always dislike plugins that overdo that.
Right.
So even though this is free, and even though it's a few lines of code, still I tend not to advertise my premium offers. Maybe they join my newsletter and they get to know the other products in that way,
Right.
but I don't do it within the WordPress dashboard.
Well, this one here, I did notice that when I was looking through. I have several clients that they do digital downloads, so they definitely don't need the processing. They need the order to go complete. I've been using a plugin I downloaded years ago from the WordPress org site, and this one here looks like it's a little bit more efficient than the one I've been using. I may have to go give yours a try and see how it works. But yeah, it's
For your
something.
test.
What's that?
I'm waiting for your tests.
Yeah, well, I'll give it a test, and we'll stick it into the regular show for a review. But yeah, it was always surprised me. It's like, why doesn't WooCommerce have the ability to just check a box and have it do this?
Right.
But there's all kinds of things in WooCommerce that are like that, which is of course why you have a business, because there's all these little things. It's like, well, some of these things they should have been no-brainers, but they keep their code as clean as possible for the most open thing, and they allowed a complete ecosystem to build up around them. That is the one interesting thing about WooCommerce. That was what
True.
turned them into the powerhouse from back in the day before Automatic bought them, because I've been dealing with WooCommerce since, who'd they fork from? I forgot who they forked from.
Gigo Shop.
Gigo Shop, yes, that's what it was. Yeah, I remember that one. Those are some interesting days for WordPress back in those days.
Yes, they were. One thing I wanted to add also is that WooCommerce has been doing lots of work, especially in the last few months, of adding new features to core or integrating premium stuff that used to be premium and now it's into core as well. So it's also possible, and it happened, that out of these 44 plugins, some of them is basically now obsolete because WooCommerce just did that specific thing. So whenever that happens, I try not to cry, and instead I try to see whether I can still retain that offer by offering a little bit more than what WooCommerce does.
Yeah.
So, for example, there was not a way to add multiple items to the cart with a single URL string. Recently, a few months ago, they instead released this internally, and it's using a new query string and whatever, and it works perfectly, but it only redirects you to the checkout, or it doesn't allow you to add products by SKU, or it doesn't allow you to redirect to a specific page. So I didn't lose business. Actually, it helped me by saying, hey, WooCommerce just introduced this new feature, but if you install my plugin, you have even more. So, sometimes it happens. For example, recently they're working, they've been working forever. I don't know why it's taking so long to move the orders menu item in the sidebar from the sub menu onto the top menu, so it's always visible. If you're running a WooCommerce store, you want to have the orders always there. You want to make sure you can click on that, but it's kind of hidden at the moment, and they're moving it, but it's taking them months. And I have a free plugin, by the way, to move the orders menu wherever you want. Could be outside the sub menu, could be on top of the main sidebar, at the bottom, in between, inside another sub menu. So it's a little bit more advanced, and it's still valid, even if WooCommerce puts that into core.
That's a useful item. Hadn't even thought about that myself. All right. Well, let's start wrapping this down a bit. This has been very excellent so far. Now, some advice you could possibly have for people that are aspiring WooCommerce plugin developers. You know, they might be building of thinking, or they might be building of thinking. Yeah, my brain's working just fine. Um, they might be thinking of building their first WooCommerce extension. You know, what's the top piece of advice that you might give them from going from idea to products that users love?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I've seen so many developers waste like 12 months of their lives to develop, super complex plugin, or build an amazing landing page, or work on a custom licensing system, whatever. Just you need to validate the plugin first. So make sure that you know that it's going to sell, that you can make a living out of it first. So start with a mini plugin, see whether there is demand, see whether you have specific feedback, see whether you get good reviews, customer requests, and then you start thinking about the pro, full-on version, because it makes no sense to do the opposite. Loads of people, they'll be there developing, and then after 12 months they've got nothing to show and nothing that is going to sell. So do the opposite. Do like me and ship something fast, see if it works, even free, and then build on top of that, a premium version. And now that you've got the validation, you got the data, you've got the downloads, and you got the reviews.
Excellent. Those are some good ideas and some good points for people. Now, with WooCommerce has been doing, as you said, they've been adding a lot to core and they've been changing a lot, and they have made some nice advances over the last year and a half. And what sort of emerging trends do you see in WooCommerce coming up over the next year that will influence how plugins are built and launched?
Yeah, I mean it's all over the place. I think definitely AI is going to be the answer here, even though I'm still not 100% sure um, it works well
Mm.
for non-developers like me. Um, so you're either in a full stack and you know exactly what's going on. You have your custom setup and you can build your own stuff in a few minutes and validate it and pass it through, the plugin check and whatever. But I think that AI is going to revolutionize WordPress altogether, and therefore WooCommerce. But at the same time, I still want to make sure that WooCommerce goes in the right direction. So by that, I mean listening to people on social, which they've been doing a lot lately, and I'm very happy about it. Um, Taking a look at all the customer support requests that they get, making sure that WooCommerce is a fully functioning, uh, performant, lightweight, and lean piece of software for people to use, and also um, try to listen to a lot of people who are not interested in blocks, and therefore keep working on the legacy cart checkout, um, shortcodes, and shop also template, which are still in use and will still be in use. And it's important that they keep working on the two branches, because they're both important according to me.
Well, they're very important because I don't use blocks. I have avoided Gutenberg since its introduction, and I've gone down the path of Elementor with and Classic Editor and now ACF for doing my content. So I find the block editor personally to be unintelligent and not useful in many of the things I do. And many of my clients, when they've tried to use it, I've had to flip them back to the classic editor so that they can understand how to put their content in, because all they need to do is put their content in. They're not building fancy pages. So yeah, that would be a good thing, is if they manage to maintain that, because if they break that, that could create problems for them as time goes on. And that'll open it up even further for someone like Fluent Cart to come in and eat their lunch.
True.
Because Fluent Cart is working towards trying to eat their lunch right now. So looking ahead in 2026, you've got your event, and excuse me, I knew what it was. I even talked about it in the intro, coming up in Palmero, coming up. And you have your live classes and your community focused stuff. What do you see? How is all this going to help with you expanding over the next year?
Yeah, so the conference name is Checkout Summit in Palermo, and it's one of the ways that I found that is positioning me as the human WooCommerce expert, because there is too much AI out there. People are relying a lot on AI chats, and
Right.
therefore blogs like Business Bloomer at the moment are not really working as well as they used to work in the past, because people, they don't go to Google any longer. They just chat with a bot
Yeah.
and get the answers they need. So conferences, private online communities, cohorts, classes, online classes, this is the way for me to keep WooCommerce human. I don't think it's super important. I'm doing my best. And in fact, community is my 2026 keyword, because WordPress has gone through loads of problems. We all know that. Lost market share probably, and community is what keeps it alive, and we know that. We see that at every WordCamp. We see that at online events. We see that in Slack, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. So people really matter, and people are the ones that are keeping WooCommerce, WordPress alive, and still at that amount of market share. So my goal was to move away from client work and from blog posts, and going straight onto teaching and getting to organize a summit in person, in real life, for people to finally chat to each other, because I think that that's super important. So yeah, Checkout Summit in April is exactly the reason why I've been working on it since June 2025 on my own, but still, this is something like my baby, and I would love to make it a success. And plus, it's going to be in Sicily, so hopefully it's a nice time of the year to visit. And you get the both things. You get the vacation style and vibe, and you get to meet 150 WooCommerce people, and it's going to be amazing. Lots of speakers and lots of networking opportunities.
Excellent. Well, that's going to be a very good event. And you have your live classes you do online. I've seen them from time to time. I've tried to sign up, but they're never in the approximate time zone I need to deal with. So
Right.
I kind of skip them. It's like, yeah, okay. But those things along the line, how do they help with your connections with people or educating people? You've got a very large newsletter list. I assume that's how you keep in touch with a ton of people.
Yeah. So thankfully, I've got assets. So I was ready when AI came and destroyed my website traffic, but thankfully I've got newsletters, and I've got a good list of people. I've got lots of followers. And yes, these classes, first of all, I enjoy teaching a lot. since ever. Like my mom is a teacher, and maybe that's where it's coming
Oh
from.
yeah, it's in the blood,
And
obviously.
yeah, it's in the blood, in my DNA. And also, I've always been doing like webinars and lessons and classes about WooCommerce. I was one of the first ones. And now I'm doing these super focused master classes once or twice a month for free.
Mhm.
And that's my way to giving back to the community, and also a way to earn a few more free newsletter subscribers, and maybe get them to sign up for the membership. uh, in the membership, in the premium membership, I have online courses, I have the private community, I have loads of members only resources. So that's my second part of the business. One would be the conference, and one would be the network. And basically they're the same thing, just one is online and one is offline. The goal is
Awesome.
to get humans to talk about WooCommerce, to get to know each other, and to see where WooCommerce is going, which at the moment we have no idea, because things are changing so fast that we don't know where we're going to be in 3 months time or 6 months time. So it's we're in the middle of a revolution,
Yes, we
and
are.
we need to be together to
I,
understand this.
it reminds me of the early heady days of WordPress when they jumped to 2.5, when they introduced they introduced post types.
Yep.
As
Yep.
that's what it
Indeed.
reminds me of, and that's what re-excited me. Like, I was burned out on WordPress until last year. I was ready to just close up shop and go putter in the garden. And then I got reinvigorated with the AI, and everything else has allowed me to, like, oh wow, I can actually find excitement in doing this again.
Yeah, yeah, and lots of people are doing so. But at the same time, you still need some guidance at the end of the day, or you
Mhm.
need someone to talk to, because we tend to be alone in our rooms,
Mm.
and from morning till night, and we don't talk to nobody.
Mhm.
And it's just nice to hop on Slack
Yeah.
or whatever, and
Mhm.
just talk to someone, say,
Yeah.
hey guys, by the way, I need to validate this new plugin, what do you think about it?
Yeah.
So it's also a nice way to do some research, to do some market research, because that's where the people are,
Yeah.
and you should definitely make the most of it.
Absolutely. Okay, well, this is a spot here where you get to give any final shout outs for tools, communities, how they can reach out to you, anything else you want to say.
Right. So I think I basically told you the story of my life and
Oh,
the story of my business.
we got a pretty good handle on it. Yeah, it's been really quite
True.
fun.
True. So except for that, I would love to see, a lot of people coming to Sicily, and hopefully the weather is gonna be nice. We're 5 minutes by foot to the beach, so it should be nice enough just to go for a walk. But except for Checkout Summit, I think that I'm very much looking forward to this year. My classes, my community work, and making sure that everyone who works with WooCommerce, who develops with WooCommerce, knows about us, knows about me, knows about the others, because we need to talk, because we need to understand what the future holds, and we need to know what to develop, because at the moment we're kind of a little bit lost. And hopefully the next few months, and hopefully WooCommerce at Checkout Summit will tell us more.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it, Rodolfo. Appreciate your time. I know it's probably pretty late over there in Italy.
Yes, yes, it's 10 p.m. So
Yeah, yeah. I realized it's you're on a massively different time zone than me. You're halfway across the globe from where
true.
I'm located. But yeah, thank you very much. Don't run away. We're going to play some outros and other things, and I'll be right back with you when we're done. All
Thanks so
right.
much.
I'll let my girl take us on out.
Reminders for the show. All the show notes can be found at wppluginsa2z.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the newsletter for more useful information delivered directly to your inbox. WP Plugins A to Z is a show that offers honest and unbiased reviews of plugins created by you, the developers, because you support the show. Help keep the show honest and unbiased by going to wppluginsa2z.com/donate and set the donation level that fits your budget. Help us make the show better for you by subscribing and reviewing the show through your favorite podcast app. You can also watch the show live on YouTube at WP Plugins A to Z, and remember to subscribe and hit the bell to get notifications of all new videos. You can also follow the show on X at WP Plugins A to Z. John can be reached directly through the website wpproatoz.com or email him at john@wppro.ca. Amber can also be contacted through the website at wpproatoz.com or email her directly, amber@wppro.ca. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.
Alrighty, that just sort of wraps us there. We're still live on YouTube, but just a couple of quick things. Thank you very much again. Greatly appreciate it. Don't run away. I'm going to play a little bit of outro music for those on YouTube that know we're shutting down, and I'll be right back with you, Rodolfo.
These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. A quarter after midnight, and I'm watching the wall. Sometimes I feel so uptight, I just can't sleep at all. Every day doing the same old thing, we're losing time. The weekend comes, we gotta have some fun and rewind. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. I feel the rope tightening, choking off our air. We need to grab some lightning. Friday's almost here. Caught in a web, we need to cut this thread we're hanging by. Where is it said you have to be half dead to survive? These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder. We're gonna make time stand still. We gotta feel the hunger, hanging over the edge just to taste the thrill. These are the days of thunder.
That's it, folks. That's all we got now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh my god, that is amazing!
Oh no. Obviously we just lost the satellite feed.